are the components, which means these are like chapters. So you've got to provide all your evidence of how you are from your falsafah. This is all related to constructive alignment. So your falsafah should be related to your strategy, should be related to your assessment. So you have to show that in your teaching portfolio. Well, at least that's what I tried to do. And so in 2015, tadi 2014 got the ATA, right? So 2015 I submitted AAN for pengajaran on behalf of UUM. During that year, it was just pengajaran. No one else submitted for other thing yet. And same thing, requirement for AAN pengajaran, only that they have only 2 rounds. The first and most important requirement is that you have won an award on teaching at your own university. And you have to follow other requirements as well. You've got to submit a teaching portfolio endorsed by the university and signed by the Vice Chancellor. So if you don't have the approval of the Vice Chancellor, you can't submit. And then you have to achieve TT Ambang. Now remember, the TA is just 80%, TT Ambang in AAN is 85% and above. And if you achieve that, then you will be called for round 2. So I got through to round 2 in 2015. So in round 2, there will be simulation as well as interviews. Now all panels who were there were all previous AAN winners. Ini bukan calang-calang orang lah. Okay? And they're not from education. So only one of them were from education. The rest were all from various schools. Apparently, Science Tulin, there were a few from Science Tulin as well. Yeah, they were panels. So, and you've got to expect between 9 to 12 people, 9 to 12 members who will be your student when you're doing your simulation. And they're not going to be like your student who's very nice and kind and very supportive. They're going to try to be as very difficult as possible. Example that I went through, they didn't want to do my group work. So if you have students who don't want to do your group work, you'll spend 10 minutes motivating them to do, there goes your 15 minutes. So when the bell rang, I couldn't finish my teaching. So I knew I couldn't get it. So, and they will be asking a lot of questions, and usually related to the philosophy. In my case, it was related to the philosophy, the strategy, what was my innovation, and as well as assessment. So I didn't make it in round 2 to win the award. But I was, masa tu macam, insyaAllah dapat kot. I was like kind of confident. So this is what happened to me after that. From near hero to extremely zero. I was the director of University Teaching Learning Centre, but the effect of not winning the award, I almost lost my confidence. It affected even during my training, that I'm actually looking at myself, am I that bad that I didn't win the award? So in terms of emotional, it was really, it affected me. But my very best friend told me never to give up. My daughter said, oh, it was them, Mama. They didn't understand what you're doing. You're our AAN winner. So they always call me AAN winner 2015. So yeah, so sometimes it's good to have children who are like that. So it doesn't matter that people don't notice the good that you do, because she knows what good that I did, I guess, because she's always in the classroom sometimes. What matters is that Allah noticed it, and never forget that. So that was my quotation of the day. I held that. It's okay, people tak nampak, but just continue to do good. If you're doing this and your students are actually having a good time, they're actually learning, they appreciate you doing whatever that you're doing a good job. The award is not important. But as the director of the University Teaching Learning Centre, then I had to attend the AAN award ceremony in 2017, which I could have been one of the winners. It was not easy emotionally, but it made me feel a sense of determination that I don't care, I'm going to try again, and until the day I get it, I'm not going to stop. So I'm going to do it again and again and again until they're fed up of Fauziah Abdul Rahim every 2 years. Okay, you have to understand, yeah. If you don't get it in 2015, you can't resubmit for 2016. There must be a 1 year period for you to do whatever that you need to do, and then in 2017 you will submit again. So that's precisely what I did. 2017 baru submit balik. Yeah, so I wanted to do this, and in order to do that, I need to focus. So that was one of the reasons why I had to leave, in order to really make sure that I understand what's going on, how to improve my portfolio. And at that time, I thought I can't send the same portfolio, right? So I must do something different, and that's the reason. And Alhamdulillah, see, Allah opens up doors. We were in the verge of doing MOOC. It was difficult for people to do MOOC, and I wanted to know as a director how people do MOOC and what are the obstacles and challenges that they will go through. Let me do it so that I will know, so that when I fight for them, I understand the agony that they go through when they complete their MOOC. So that's why I started the MOOC in while I was the director, and right after I completed, again, it was so happened that we had to teach PGD HLT, and we can't communicate with them other than other platform, other than the MOOC, and the second MOOC was given birth. So 2 MOOCs in a row, and I said, I have something to tell. So that's why I added that in the latest portfolio. So what I then have is the motivation, and I knew that no matter how hard it is, Allah will make ease. I just need to continue to make doa, and that's how the portfolio came about. And this portfolio, the recognition must be given to University Teaching Learning Centre. UTLC has been wonderful in supporting, and I think they are supportive for everyone in this audience and those who are not here, to do whatever that you want to do in order to improve your teaching and learning, especially if you want to enter such award as this, because they were there to help me design. They were the designers. You want me to do all these things, color here? No, I stand there. You know, no wonder it doesn't win. Sometimes people look at face validity too, right? So they helped me to design such things. Yeah, and they insist that my face must be there. If it was up to me, my face will never be in any of the pictures. But they insist that my face will be there. I said, okay lah. So in my portfolio, I divided it into various aspects. I started not only, the journey did not just started immediately when I'm actually in the university. I also shared some instances of how I was as a learner when I was in school, and how I became a teacher then when I was teaching in school before I came into tertiary level. So that's my school, that's Bukit Bintang Girls School. That's my kindergarten, that's Fatima Kindergarten Jalan Ampang. So my journeys, I started off, I was blessed because I have many good teachers, brilliant, excellent teachers. They were the one who molded me to have a good sense of moral values, which I think is important, and sense of determination as well. And if I also I wrote about one teacher, because my handwriting until now is terrible. So my teacher told me once, Fauziah, I know what you're going to be when you grow up. Either you're going to be a professor or you're going to be a doctor. And I said, I'm fine with both. But I knew I was not doing well in academic. So I said, Puan Zainab, why do you say that I will be a professor or a doctor? Because I cannot read your handwriting. When she said, I know you're going to be a professor or a doctor, she said out loud. So all my friends were like, what? Fauziah, professor, doctor? Yeah, betul. But when she said, I can't read your handwriting. So when you can't read your handwriting, usually professors and doctors, right? So alhamdulillah, I think that's her way of saying, please change your handwriting in a very nice way. That's one lesson that I took from her. That when I taught my students, I realized that there's always a better way to tell them that they need to change without hurting their feelings. She could have just said, your handwriting, it's like cakar ayam. You know, she could have just said that. Message is still the same, right? Your handwriting is terrible. But the way she put it made in such a way that it turned out well, that I didn't lose my courage and confidence. Then when I became a teacher in this school, this is a school where they didn't have English teacher from standard 1 to standard 6. And here I am, Form 1, teaching them English language. So when I told them, class, please understand, they stood. Because they only understand stand. So the only way, cut short way to make them actually do well is to do choral speaking. And of course, choral speaking is what I got from my alma mater, BBJS. So they were actually using all these words without them understanding what the words meant. Until one day they say, teacher, overwhelmed tu apa? So I had to explain to them what overwhelm means. And they were saying, oh. And one day I saw them in their essay, they actually used the word overwhelm. You know, for someone who didn't know how to read 6 months ago. So that was tremendous transformation. They didn't get the A, but they learned, nevertheless. So these are some of my students. If you can see me, that means I still have not changed. But if you can't recognize who I am, where I am, that means I have aged. So if that's me, dulu boleh tunduk lah macam tu, sekarang dah tak boleh. Okay. So then I began the journey, because whatever happened in my previous experiences also influenced my future action. And that's how my philosophy was designed, and that's why I said I had to mediate students' learning, because mediation is when you challenge the learners, but at the same time you're supporting them. So constantly challenging them, but at the same time supporting them. So similarly to my school students, they didn't understand English language, but I had to challenge them, do something difficult like choral speaking, but at the same time supporting them that they can actually do this. And the way in which I support them, I had their parents come to listen to them. Their parents are all illiterate, but the fact that they saw their children speaking in English, they were all walking with, you know, that's my son. You know, they were very, very proud of their children. And that changed the children's motivation as well. So what we want is actually to create this thinking being, and that's the reason why we need to change the way in which we teach. If we're just lecturing, we will find that our students will not be with us. Body there, soul may not be there. And we are approaching to this era where we will be getting the alpha in our classroom. And these people, they were born with gadgets. Perhaps kalau boleh tunjuk dalam ultrasound tu, maybe there's this potential of sliding up and down their fingertips from inside their womb, probably, right? So what we need in the 21st century, which I also explain in under my philosophy, is that we need to challenge our students in order for them to have a perspective orientation towards learning. So it's not just receiving information, it's actually receiving information and start thinking, what can I do with this information? So that's perspective orientation. So the way in which we teach and the way in which we assess our students, we must also consider perspective orientation. The dialectical and how teaching and learning is actually connected is when with the knowledge that we have, I know most of us, even I went a long time ago, we always think that we have so much knowledge in our head, we want to pass everything to our students, but it's not going to happen. So that's why when we communicate with our students about the knowledge, we have to let them go and let them have a go at understanding, yeah? So that when they come back to us, we are also learning from them. what we learn is actually how can I now guide the students. So it's dialectical in nature. They tell us what they understand, we learn from that and learn how to help them to get to where we want them to get at. Yeah. So that's future. When we teach, we have the construction of knowledge, then we have future teaching where the intersubjectivity happens, and that's where future learning will occur. And based, as mentioned by Pengerusi just now, one of the research that I was involved in, headed by Professor Jamal from School of Economics, was about finishing school, and we discovered that students do not have soft skills that are needed for them to really be at the forefront when they are actually getting their jobs. And that's also part of why I said we need to change, why I need to change the way I teach, and how I embedded all this ability for them to problem solve, ability for them to communicate through the activities that I have created. And of course, the constructive alignment is always at play. In order for you to make sure that they are learning, we need to educate the heart, we need to educate the head, and we need to educate the hand. And that's why the CAP is not just there for no good reason. It is there for a very good reason. Yeah. So the second chapter, I'm not going to go through all the chapters, but the second chapter was about the strategies. So in here, I had to show how my strategy was not me telling my students what knowledge is. My strategy is how my students make sense of their learning. They are the ones who's going to discover what it is, they are going to share, and from their sharing I will understand where they are and how we can actually help to improve misconceptions. So the ownership of learning is on the students. The students have to be empowered to think, to solve real-world problems. So how do I provide the real-world problems? I created case studies. But my case studies is not the same as the business case studies. These are all cases that I took from my experiences in school when I was a teacher, short cases, but they are to actually connect the theory that they are learning in order to solve the case. And so on and so forth. So by doing that, they're actually doing deep learning, and I'm still challenging them, and they're learning in various environments. I remembered in 2001 when I had to teach 130 students, undergraduate students, for two groups, 130. I was teaching child and adolescent psychology. There was one section about parenting. Now, you know and I know that these people are not married yet. So when we talk about parenting, they go like, yeah. So they always get mixed up between parenting. There are 4 styles. Authoritative, authoritarian, permissive, and reject. They always get it mixed up. So the only way for me to ask them to do that is actually through role play. Ask them to role play the section, the characteristics. The rest will have to guess what the type of parentings are. The next was to actually look at how I'm testing the theories that they have learned. So during the semester break, they were to go and search for mangsa-mangsa bersatu, whatever level, whether it is from babies till adolescent. They were to go and find out and test the theories that they have learned in the classroom to see whether it's actually applicable to the people that they have engaged in. And that one was an eye-opener, because that's the time when they realized that the theories were there for a good reason. They were able to understand human better compared to before. That's an example of the seminar. Well, once they have done that, I asked them to prepare a seminar. So in 2002, as written there, I had my first seminar. Where was this seminar? You know, the lorong between my school and the the canteen. So that at that time, before the glass thingy was there, it was just an open space. That's where we did our first seminar, and I had Prof Rosna, a few colleagues of mine, to come and become the judge. That's right. So the students were actually having to present to people none other than their lecturer. And when when pengerusi mentioned about the miss of our previous mantan TNCPNI, actually, I remember when I wanted to go and do my postgraduate studies in the UK, he was the one who helped me to change the university. Allahyarham Datuk Prof Mahmud Nazar. In one of the seminars which I did in this room, I had him, and at that time Prof Rosna was the dean, and students were so, my undergraduate students were very, very overwhelmed because they see their TNC and their dean giving talks, sharing their research in the classroom. I continued this even until recently in 2015 when I became the director of University Teaching Learning Centre. We did two things. We had people coming in to listen to talks, but outside we had our students presenting their booth. Yeah? And actually here is where the neuroscience club's members were. Remember what he was explaining about neuroscience clubs? So it was all 3 in 1.